Your 401k is likely costing you thousands of dollars.
Brent, I am so excited to talk about this because we know that the 401k is an unbelievable tool available to most working individuals out there. And yet it can be, even though it's an amazing tool, it could be something that's potentially costing you, and you likely have the ability to change that. And that's what we want to talk about today.
Well, I mean, let's talk about why are these so powerful. First of all, we know even from our own millionaire studies that we've done, this is the first account that most millionaires cross into seven figures with. And there's a lot going for it. If you think about it, there's lots of tax incentives. You think about free money from your employer, the fact that you're getting profit sharing. There's a lot of things to get really excited about a 401k. So we want to make sure that you're doing it right.
But not all 401ks and 401k plans are created equal. There's actually a study done by the Department of Labor that found that of 1,000 of the largest 401k plans out there, over half of those plans had funds that shared revenue with the plan's administrator, meaning that there was some sort of kickback, some sort of payment for the funds and the other investment options that were found in the plan. And so you may be wondering, well, is that for sure a bad thing? Well, not necessarily in every circumstance, but can it be a bad thing? And can it be an expensive thing? And can it be a costly thing? Absolutely.
Well, I mean, let's talk about what does this mean when we find out that there's extra fees in there. We've seen this in several different ways. I remember when we've gone and reviewed 401k plans, you see sub-account fees. Even what's amazing, usually this is an active account. You know, if you find out there's a money manager or there's something, but I've even been surprised that they have realized that a lot of investors want index funds.
That's right.
So you even have to pay attention to the way the index fund of your 401k is structured to make sure you're truly getting the low-cost variety. Because we even found there was a plan. I'm not going to say too many names, but there was a plan that was labeled as a Vanguard S&P 500. And then when we looked at the internal expenses, we looked at all the fine print, we found out that this thing had an internal expense ratio that was over 0.5%.
That's right.
When we know that the traditional Vanguard S&P 500 is less than 10 basis points. So you got to pay attention to this because it could cost you a lot of money in the long term.
Yeah, so you may see an expense ratio inside of a fund, and that expense ratio may be paid as a kickback back to the plan provider. So it's something that you want to make aware of, because even though this is a hidden fee, it can really affect how many dollars stay in your back pocket. And there were some other really interesting findings in this study that was done by the Department of Labor. The average 401k of these 1,000 largest plans they looked at offered about 22 different investment options.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. It's not insane, though. It's not hundreds. But about 40% of those available investments were affiliated with a 401k provider. Again, this is not inherently a bad thing. You're probably thinking, oh, I've got a Fidelity 401k, I've got Fidelity funds. I've got a Vanguard 401k, I've got Vanguard funds. But oftentimes, when it's associated with the provider, when you see the same fund family there's a really good chance that those are not the best funds available. Those are not the lowest cost funds available. And oftentimes, those are not the best performing funds available either.
I think it's just it requires an extra step. When I see proprietary funds, and like I said, you said a good one. Like if you think about the S&P 500 at Fidelity, that's going to be low cost.
It's the lowest cost.
And that would probably fall into this 40%. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, but it does mean you at least need to go follow all the asterisks, all whatever markings they put next to the internal expenses, so that you can figure out what are the fees and what are you paying. Because we just want to make sure you're not paying those proprietary fees on funds that are just, it's not necessarily in your best interest. And there's also, be careful of the active managers that are essentially closeted index funds, but they're just way more expensive.
Yeah, let's look at an example. And that's the closeted index fund is a great example. A fund that is doing the same thing as indexes, but charging a whole lot different. Let's think about two investors or two funds available inside of your plan. Let's say that one has a revenue share and the other's non-revenue sharing, just a low-cost index. And let's say that both of these funds aim or goal is to track the S&P 500. The S&P 500 return is 10%. Well, when you actually look at the underlying internal expense ratio, the fund that has a revenue share arrangement in place might have an expense ratio of like 0.67%, where the actual indexed non-revenue sharing version could be as low as 0.015%. So a fraction of a percentage point is what you're paying in a fee. Well, when you think about it, if the broad index itself is returning 10, the actual return that you receive via the non-revenue sharing index could be something like 9.985 versus the revenue sharing fund, which is like 9.33%. And even though these are the exact same funds tracking the exact same index with the exact same type of exposure, the results that you get as an investor are not the same. When you think about how meaningful could that difference be over the course of an entire working career, it could be substantial. It could be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars category.
Wow. I mean, that's why, look, pay attention to what you're paying and make sure you're getting value out of it. That's the thing. We don't like it when there's fees that don't technically add any value to what you're getting. If there's a much better index fund, get the lowest cost version of itself. Price is what you pay, value is what you receive, and we just want to make sure that those things are connected.
So what are some things that you can do? What are some key takeaways? And a lot of people don't realize this, that you actually have the power to be an advocate for your plan. So make sure you're asking the right questions. A lot of times, we've actually had this happen where a big fan of the show reached out and said, guys, my 401k is just not great. It's a provider, and I won't say the name of the company, but it's
sub-account fees.
There's sub-account fees, and it's very expensive, and the employer match is not great, and it's
they
real
restrict
clunky.
who can fund it, because it's old school.
And so we said, hey, why don't you ask your HR department these questions? Hey, why don't we have any low-cost indices? Hey, why don't we think about a safe harbor plan? And we gave them basically these list of questions to ask. Well, they took it to the HR department, and they said, sorry, honestly, we set this up 10 years ago, and we haven't looked at it. It's been on someone's desk. Where did you get this information? How do we improve? And we were actually able to come in and improve the plan, actually put in a low-cost safe harbor type plan. So if you can ask the right questions, even if you can't change the provider, if you can't change the custodian, you might be able to say, hey, can we just make some low-cost index funds available? Rather than just having all these active funds, can we get an S&P 500? Can we get an international index? Can we get a small cap index? And you might be amazed that having those changes take place in your plan is not as difficult as you might think.
Yeah, and you just hit on all the reasons on why you need to know your investment options in the plan. And look, and it's on the responsibility list of being a fiduciary provider of a retirement plan for many employees, that they should be paying attention to how good these investment options
That's
are.
right.
So empower yourself, empower your fellow employees. Do it in a tactful way, because an employer doesn't want an employee that's out there just causing trouble for the sake of trouble. But if you truly can make things better for your coworkers and for yourself, let's go advocate for this.
Well, what you're doing there is you're creating a win-win. If you can create the scenario where you say, hey, not only will this plan be better for me and I'll get lower cost options, but man, it's going to save you as the employer in terms of administration costs. And it's going to be better for the coworkers. If we have a safe harbor plan, then maybe the ownership is going to be able to put more money in without having to worry about failing testing. There are ways that you can structure the conversation, again, to be an advocate for yourself, because the 401k is an incredible account. It's an incredible tool. And if you're going to work in an employer, you want to make sure you have the best 401k possible, the best 401k available.
And look, we already said, majority of plans, 22 funds, they add a lot of complexity. The win is typically keep it simple.
That's right.
If you know what you can control, get out there and maximize those things, and then set it, forget it, make it automatic for the people. That's how you win the 401k game.
I love it. Brian, I love that we get to talk about this. I love that we can educate folks on things that they might not know. They might know, hey, I need to save and I want to save, but man, there's little nuances to the 401k and to the investment options I didn't know about. I love that we get to sit in the spot where we can talk about those things. And I also love that we can talk about the things that you guys care about. It's why we show up here every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Central to load you guys up. So if you have a question, if you want to get our take, if you want us to weigh in on something in your life, we have the team out in the wings collecting your questions right now. So make sure you get them in the chat. With that, Creative Director Reby, I'm going to throw it over to you.
Yep, I've got a few questions queued up, but first I need your help with something. I want to try a new segment called It Doesn't Depend. It's a rapid fire segment where Brian and Bo answer questions rapid fire style, And the one rule is they have to do it in under a minute and they can't use the words, it depends.
Oh, wow.
So
Look at you.
what I need you to do, if you are watching live and are active in our chat right now, if you have a rapid fire question, just put the initials RF in front of your question and then write out your question.
We can't
I
say
will be
it depends.
choosing
So
a few
here's
of
what I
them.
think is funny. What y'all don't know, I love kind of sharing behind the scenes because, by the way, I'm back in town. If y'all didn't catch on, I'm actually here.
I am happy you're back.
but
It's so much more fun
it's-
when you're here.
Bo, right before we went live, said, Reby, we should do rapid fire. And I love that Reby is so fast acting. She's like, okay, if he's going to make this and push me to do this rapid fire,
Oh, I
I'm going
like
to
to
at least
plan
make it
things out.
hard
So I was
on
like, I
these
wanna plan
guys. So
out.
let's take out it depends.
Yeah, I said I'll make you a rapid fire segment, Bo. Let's go.
I love it.
Let's go. So we are going to do some normal, tried and true money guy questions, but then we are going to do our it does not depend.
It does not
rapid
depend.
fire segment between the 30 and 40-minute mark of today's show. So get those questions in the chat because I'm excited about it. We'll see what Brian and Bo say. But to kick off our Ask the Money Guy, let's go to Ryan J's question up first. It says, "Hi, Money Guy team. I love your content and millionaire mission." That's awesome.
Oh.
My question is, I recently did a rollover conversion from an old IRA to a Roth. It's about $45K. Should I dollar cost average over time or just throw it in all at once? What do you think?
It depends. I want to get them all out before we get to the rapid fire. I want to get them all out. We get this question a lot of times. Now, yours is specific to the fact that you did a conversion, but a lot of times people will come into a large lump sum of money. Maybe they sell a business, they have a pension that pays out a lump sum, they sell a piece of land, they have a capital transaction, whatever the thing may be, and they come into a large sum of money. They want to think, man, I really want to put this money to work, but I'm so nervous because what if I put it in and then fourth quarter of 2018 happens,
Right.
or 2022 happens, or 2008 happens? How do I decide when is the right time to put it in? Or is the answer, I should always dollar cost average? Or for those of you who don't know, dollar cost average means I'm going to buy a specific chunk on a specific timeline every single month or every single week or whatever your cadence is. And so the question that people often ask is, okay, which one is better and how do I know when and which one
Well,
to
this
do?
is why I love, at least our It Depends, we give you some rules. And because without a doubt, lump sum investing historically is the best choice. But
Market's up more often than it's
markets
down.
make money 8 out of 10 years. So you can, right there, hey, the edge is in my favor if I get this money working ASAP. It's the one-off stuff that really throws you off. So I hate it when people go all of a sudden binary where it's either on or off. Is either we're going to be lump sum or we're going to be dollar cost averaging. We're like, well, that's not the way real money management and good decision making works. Is what's the risk of this transaction to my entire financial life? Because look, if you got $45,000 but you have $1 million working in the background, throw it in there. Just get it to work ASAP. But what if this is you've only got $50,000 of investments and this $45,000 is now, 90% of your holdings? We need to understand that there is some variation to what you need to do. And that's why it's called It Depends. But we give you rules. And that's why I'm going to put the content team on quick. Let's see if they can do it. But we have a Goldilocks rule that works on trying to figure out whether you want to do lump sum versus dollar cost averaging. And it's all tied to what is this as a percentage of your total investable assets. I was hoping that they were scrambling. Oh,
And there
look
it
at
is.
this. So
Give them a
impressed.
couple extra
You just
seconds.
need
They
those
got it.
extra
I just need a
seconds.
little time. But look, we give you the rules right here. So our Depends actually has an answer, is because we say, look, if this is less than 10% of your total investable assets, put that money to work ASAP. Obviously, if this starts to get between 10 and 20, spread it out over 4 months. That way it's not really pausing the gain process too much, but at least is protecting you from that quick hit of losing 20, 30% in a small period of time. If this is over 50%, just like we talked about, if this was 90% of your holdings, let's spread that DCA over 12 months just so you get this. You're setting up the automatic behavior that gets the money working, but it's now protecting you from the risk of the transaction.
Love it.
That's great. Ryan J., appreciate your question.
By the way, is the Goldilocks? I know now that we have made the site so much more searchable, you probably can go to moneyguy.com and just search Goldilocks.
You
But
can. In
is
the
this a
episode
resource
featured
also?
It's
in.
going to pull up an episode,
Yeah.
but it's not a resource.
Not a
Okay,
resource
it's not a resource
yet.
yet.
We've talked about the rule book, right? The money guy
have
rule
talked
book
about
is on
that.
the docket team. Money guy rule book.
They don't know it's on the docket,
But
it's
now,
on my
but the good
docket.
news, the searchability of the website is so good now
Mm-hmm.
that you can go find this stuff
Yeah.
just by us talking about it.
That's right.
You can.
Are you seeing all these rapid fire questions?
yeah.
Man. If we took a minute.
Are
on
they all
every-
money based, or are any of these like what's Bo's bicep curl?
You'll have to wait and see.
Of all the lists, that's the weirdest one to come up with, but I like it.
I don't know.
I like it.
By the way, we have a new thumbnail that's working its way around the ranks, and I don't even know if Bo knows this because when Reby sent me the draft of it, and I was like, "Why is Bo flexing?"
It's our new podcast artwork.
It's our new podcast.
If you're an audio
literally,
listener, you may be
as
seeing
of today,
And
it's our brand new
I know
great
Bobby.
artwork. I love the
Hope I don't start a fight. But Reby goes, if you think that one looks flexing, you should have seen the other ones that we looked at.
Yeah, he said, "Why is Bo flexing?" I was like, "That's all the photos,
Guys,
Brian."
I'm not.
I
We
think
should've
he's just
stopped
so
him. We
so
should've stopped him in the
swole,
moment.
so swole that you just can't help but hide those muscles anymore.
I don't know what to tell you.
Oh,
tell you.
man.
Health
All right.
is wealth.
Let's go on to Jacob the CPA's question. It says, is it okay to lower savings rate to 10% for 1 year? I'm 26 with one time saved, which is 81K. I'm guessing that's
Wow.
one time as
That's
income.
awesome.
Info step 6. With baby number 2, we need a new van, and my wife's car won't fit 2 car seats and isn't reliable. We will do 23.8.
Yeah, Jacob, this is a great question because so many people, so many financial mutants out there, they think, guys, I'm going to put you on the spot, content team, if y'all can pull this up. So many people think the FOO is a straight line. You go from step 1 to step 2 and step 2 to step 3. And over the course of your career, it just goes straight from bottom left up to top right. But in reality, that's not how it often works. Life happens. We have things where we get married and we buy a home and we start a family and we have to replace a car and we have a job change and we have a fill in the blank on all the things. And so a lot of people get so wound up thinking, man, I can never go back. I can never not be exactly where I am. And you have to remember that money is nothing more than a tool that allows us to achieve and accomplish our goals. Money is not the goal in and of itself. And so the FOO is supposed to be a guideline that helps move you towards your goals. The FOO itself is not a goal. So, Jacob, if you find yourself in a situation where you're about to have baby number 2, congratulations, that's amazing. Your wife's car won't fit 2 car seats. You have to upgrade. And the way that you're going to be able to save for that 20% down to go buy that automobile to follow 23.8 is you have to back down your savings to be able to do that. That's okay. That's part of life. That's part of the financial journey. Can you do it? Absolutely. Now, what I love is at $81,000 saved up at age 26, you're already like well ahead of the curve. Like you're doing awesome already.
Yeah, you know the rules. We talk about by 30 you want to have 1 times. You're already well above that. What I would do to keep yourself motivated, just a little facets that will help you keep yourself on track. I have no problem with you bringing it down to 10%, but at least try to get the employer matches and all the things that get you free. They level you up in a lot of really cool ways, like 50%, 100% guaranteed rates of return. It's hard to walk away from those things, but then also put the pressure on yourself to get on track ASAP. Feel like that there is a ticking time clock of compounding growth, your army of dollar bills that are not growing through the wealth multiplier formula because you've made this decision. And I think that will keep you motivated. But being a CPA, 26, crushing it, I think this will just be a hiccup in your long, successful life.
And congrats on baby number 2.
Congratulations.
Great answer. Thank you for the question, Jacob the CPA. We've got a question from Jeff P. next. It says, question for the team. Does it make sense to move my traditional IRAs back into my 401k to free up the backdoor Roth opportunity without triggering the pro-rata rules? I'm male, 50, retiring at 65.
I mean, we don't know the details of the 401k that you're rolling it back in, but this is definitely a very viable strategy to open up the opportunity to do backdoor Roth conversion strategies.
So what I'll do is I'll explain what the backdoor is and what the strategy is doing. I'd love you to think, Brian, times that it would make sense or would not make sense. Like what would you look for it to or to not make sense? So for those of you that aren't familiar with what Jeff is saying is that if you make too much money to be able to contribute directly to a Roth IRA, there is currently an opportunity where you can put money into a traditional IRA, not take the tax deduction. That makes it a non-deductible contribution. And then you can convert that to Roth. Well, if you do that and you don't have any other outside IRA assets, so no IRA rollover, traditional IRA, SEP IRA, simple IRA, you don't have any of those hanging out. When you do that conversion, if all you're converting is after-tax dollars and after-tax dollars are all you have in your IRAs, then it is a completely tax-free backdoor conversion. And so what Jeff is saying is, hey, I have these traditional IRAs that have pre-tax money. Rather than having them sit there, I'm going to roll them into my 401k, into my employer-sponsored plan, thereby reducing my IRA balances to zero and opening up my ability to do backdoor Roths. It's a wonderful strategy. A lot of people do it. A lot of people make that movement so they can do backdoors. But his question, I think, was, does this make sense? So I'm trying to think about, Brian, times when it would not make sense to do that and implement that strategy.
Yeah, let me give the two that just immediately, and I'm sure if just in case my brain is not working as fast as yours, if you come up with additional on top of this. Easy low-lying fruit is you have a horrible 401k with really expensive funds, really high fees, and other things that way outweighs the putting the money in there. So that's the first thing. But if you work for a big company and you have a great 401k with low-cost index funds, lots of options, I think it makes a lot of sense at that point. There's also, what if your income is not high enough to where you even need to do a backdoor Roth conversion contribution? A lot of people, if your income, and that's why I was scrambling, because we're in a brand new tax year, so I don't want to give out bad numbers. But on the spot, I should have already flipped over to this. You can make contributions up to a Roth IRA. This is back in 2025, so I'm sure this has gone up for incomes. Here we are. For a 2025, $236,000 to $246,000 for a married couple. For single, it's $150,000 to $165,000. So if your income is under those thresholds, you don't have to worry about the structure. You can just contribute directly to the Roth accounts. But if you're in a higher income situation and you have a really clean 401k with lots of opportunities, I kind of like it. I mean, this is why I resemble this in some ways, is that I love the Roth conversion strategies.
I'm going to give you one from experience where you just want to think through this. Oftentimes traditional IRAs are just sort of this kind of weird account that like it used to have your attention and then it loses your attention and then it comes back. And so we've seen this with clients where they had a traditional IRA that at some point in time, they recognize, man, I want to do tax deferred savings, but I make too much to do a deductible contribution, or I make too much, I already have a 401k, so I can't deduct, but I'm just going to put money in my traditional IRA. And I do that for a few years and not really thinking about it. I end up having some after-tax dollars in my traditional IRA. Well, fast forward in my career and I change jobs and I roll a 401k in. And so now my traditional IRA has this big pot of money in there. It's not uncommon if you have a traditional IRA that there might be some what we call basis in that.
Good call.
I'm literally thinking about two clients. We were going to do this strategy where we were going to roll their traditionals back into their 401ks. And we just asked them the question, hey, where'd the traditional money come from? Like, oh, well, it was a smattering. We used to contribute. And I was like, well, you guys have always worked for large companies. When you contributed, were you doing deductible contributions? Like, no, we were just looking for like a tax. We actually forensically went back, I want to say it was like 11 or 12 years on their tax returns and found every single year where they had made a contribution, we were able to unload for each, or to uncover for each of them, like it was something like $60,000 or $70,000 of basis in those traditionals. And so what we were able to do is we were able to roll all the pre-tax money into their 401k, leaving behind just the basis, so like $60,000, $70,000 of basis, and immediately convert that basis that was already after tax to Roth. Had they not recognized that, had they not caught that, what they would have done is they would have rolled after-tax dollars into a pre-tax account, thereby putting it back inside the tax shelter, causing it to be taxed 2 times and missing out on tons of Roth opportunity and Roth planning. So you want to make sure, Jeff, before you just willy-nilly blanket roll money into your 401k from a traditional, you know where those traditional dollars came from because you don't want to mix up after-tax dollars and pre-tax dollars because there's a big planning opportunity otherwise.
Well done.
Wow,
So
that
smart.
one got a high five.
That was awesome. I mean, because I knew he was going. I was like, "There's something I'm probably not coming up with," and the basis is a big determination. That's going to help somebody, and somebody's going to be like, "Thank goodness I listened to that third point that Bo just shared."
It was literally like hundreds of thousands.
That's
of
a big
Roth.
one. That's a big one.
It was a big one. It was a big one.
That's good stuff. Jeff P., I hope that really helps you think through your question.
As it was
Your
No, but
question got a
that's
high
exactly
five on the answer.
that's what you want out of your financial advisor, and this is why we say your life starts off financially so simple because building wealth is not necessarily hard or even complicated in the beginning. It's just a matter of making the things as simple and automatic as possible. But then as you have more and more success, things like that happen where all of a sudden your life gets complicated, even though you are trying to keep things structured as simply as possible. And that's where we'll leave the porch light on, and you can tell we got the chops to make sure you navigate this well.
Love it.
It's good stuff. All right. Your chance to get rapid fire questions in is coming to a close. If you're watching live right now, be sure to put an RF in front of your question. It will be part of our rapid fire segment in just a few minutes. But first, we have Leah Feld 4397 and her question. It says, can you have too many sinking funds? We have a 6-month emergency fund, plus funds for a new car, repairs, travel, etc. Combined, this puts us at $140K plus in cash. Household income is $225K. They're 32 years old, $400K saved in retirement.
God, they are
step
crushing
6. They are crushing it. So what do you think about
Hang on, before y'all take
cash?
that off, let me just get, because there's lots of data here. Income. I know you're faster, but go ahead and talk.
Well, the answer to the question is, can you have too many? Absolutely.
Yes.
We've actually we did a Making a Millionaire episode. If you've not checked it out, make sure you subscribe right now to the channel so you can get updates every other Monday when we do one of these. Because a lot of people do this. They say, all right, I've got my emergency fund, and I know that I need my 3 to 6 months of living expenses. But in addition to that, I might need to replace my car, so I'm going to have an additional sinking fund. But then I might have some home repairs, and I have that. Then I've got this travel, and then I've got, and all of a sudden you have these 8, 9, 10, 12 different sinking funds, and you get yourself in the situation like Leah, where your household income is $225,000, and you have well over half of that amount in cash, which is likely way bigger of a cash cushion than you need, because odds are, not all of those things are going to hit at once. I'm going to buy a new car, and I'm going to get the repairs, and I'm going to have to travel, and I'm going to need to tap into my emergency fund. You're not recognizing that dollars inside of sinking funds can be used for multiple purposes at different times. But I think financial mutants, we like to compartmentalize, we like to have our nice little chunks, but it does get you in the situation where even though you guys are absolutely crushing it, you're probably in way more conservative of a posture than you actually need to be in.
Well, I think you're focusing on the minutia of it instead. You're focusing on it with a fine, like you need to pull the microscope back. Like you're looking at 10 times magnification, where maybe you just need 1 times and just look at it as a whole, so you can get the overview that, hey, what is really do I need the next 3 years? And then let's look at our emergency funds / sinking funds in that scope of 3 years. And then, yes, let's keep that money. But if this thing is starting to get where we have a full year's salary and we don't need that much, especially 6 figures, multiple 6 figures, the way it's headed. We've probably turned a good behavior into a hyper focus. And like all things in life, too much of a good thing can all of a sudden turn into a weird obsession or bad thing. And that's why we got to have perspective, got to have the why, understand what is the purposes. Because what I don't want you to do, especially, did we get the age here?
I think 32 is how old they are.
If you're in your early 30, there it is, 32. I mean, your wealth multiplier at age 32
huge
is still 18 times. So you can imagine if you're misjudging this by $20,000, $40,000, $50,000, all of a sudden, you're walking away from your future self having hundreds of thousands of dollars working out there in your army of dollar bills. So, and especially if you're not at step 8, because sometimes if you read Millionaire Mission, I share that cash can be a kind of a contrarian wealth builder, but that's well beyond the steps 1 through 7. That's when you're stacking it up in the background, and now you're looking at how do I use cash as a magnifier of wealth by having money when nobody else does during the any upcoming downturns. But if that's not, and you're young, let's make sure we're not leaving those army of dollar bills sitting on the sidelines.
32 with 400,000.
Oh yeah, we definitely work with
it.
us is definitely in your future, Leah. I mean, because that's incredible, y'all. Well done, golf clap. I mean, that's just really good stuff.
A golf clap. I like that. It is true. If you,
I don't have the handshake, because was it Paul Hollywood has the handshake? We got to figure out what we can do. I mean, I guess Bo high fives everybody. So
I'm a big high
but
fiver.
maybe he's a high five too much, around here.
Oh.
I think.
No.
But so
No
we got to
such thing.
figure out
Shake
what our money guy thing is when somebody's done something so well that golf clap doesn't sound right either, but we'll figure it out.
We'll workshop it. We'll keep
workshop it.
workshopping it.
I got some
What about
really
the thumbs
smart,
up?
creative people around us.
I don't know. We'll think about it. But as I was saying, it is true that if you ever are at that level of complexity where you just don't know what you don't know and you want to make sure you get it right, go to moneyguy.com and click on Become a Client, and you can just explore what it looks like to become a client of Abound Wealth. We're always here for you when you need us. All right, we have reached that time in the show.
Oh boy.
When it is time for our It Does Not Depend rapid fire segment, where Brian and Bo will answer a series of questions submitted by our live chat today in under a minute. And they are not allowed to use the words "it depends."
All right, and so I want to make sure our production team, you're going to get that timer going for us.
Yes, they
And
are.
It's a minute combined, right? Like both of us have to answer inside of 60 seconds.
So I
Absolutely.
can't hog it because we know I'm the one that's going to hog the time if we're not careful. Okay.
I say yes. And here is what I will throw you a bone here. At the end of our questions, we will have a maybe it does depend segment where you can say all the things that you were just dying to say that you couldn't for the sake of time.
Love it.
Okay?
Be careful what you ask for.
We'll ping pong back and forth who starts.
So
That way.
do it. Be short. I want to see you do rapid
You
fire.
going first? I'll let you go first.
All right.
Okay.
Here we go. First question from Miris Rant says, best strategy if employer does not offer a 401k?
No 401k, best strategy would be saving to a traditional IRA, assuming that you could deduct it. If not, then or Roth IRA, traditional IRA, then after-tax brokerage account.
God, I loved it. I mean, you crushed it because that's exactly the order I would do that as well.
He's already used up all his time.
What?
He just took so long to say, I loved it. I loved it.
Who
No,
used up time?
we didn't even hit a minute because I mean it's totally the Roth IRA. I mean, and by the way, let me shake it like it's hot, like it's supposed to be. Because Andy Hill did a great job, but he didn't shake that thing like it was supposed to. When you get the foo, you shake this thing, and then that's what. So you got to hit that Roth, just like Bo said. And then when you get out to retirement, since you don't have an employer match, you go hit the traditional IRA, and if you don't have that, you go down here to step 7, and you go start doing the after-tax account. Bo said
Starting
it
off
perfectly.
strong. You give Brian the minute, he will use
No,
the
we
minute.
50
Look,
seconds.
we still have 50
Next up,
seconds.
We
Next
crushed
up, BP6685 says 529 or Trump account.
Well, I mean, I think you take the free money from the Trump account for sure, because free money's good. But we're finding out because these things are going to be treated just like normal IRA accounts, so there might be a Roth conversion opportunity in the future. We still think that 529s, go get the free money because we love free money, but then we still love 529s as long as there's a why that education is going to be in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fred D asks DCA Roth IRA contributions or lump sum them in January.
Lump sum in January, assuming your portfolios reach the size to where the Roth contribution is immaterial relative to your total portfolio.
Yeah, if you've got, and I'll put numbers to it, if you've got over $60,000 of investable assets, then you probably should just have the strategy of just lump summing it in there. Unless you now know thyself, if you're one of these persons, because it's an annual thing, I love setting up dollar cost averaging. If your income is nowhere near the tippity top of the exclusion of you make too much, then I like setting up automatic behaviors to just buy every month when you get paid.
Zach P says, would you rather a one $88 beer or 88 $1 beers?
First of all,
I have to know what an $88 beer tastes like.
I would need.
Honestly, I had the
That's
same
like
thought.
a fancy
I was
beer.
like, honestly,
that's
that
like
one.
that's like top tier. One $88 beer.
I could do 88 beers at this age. Now, college age would have been different. That would have been my beer that I could last me an entire year. So it'd be option 2. 88 $1 beers would probably be all of my 2026 beer needs.
I would have not drank.
I would,
88 beers
truthfully,
since
I could probably
college.
been 2026 and 2027. Now, college, that might have made it, 2 weeks. Maybe I shouldn't say it out loud.
I'm just not going to ask any more
Remember, I
questions
did
on that.
go to
No follow-ups.
Spinnaker's and Club La Vila back when I was in high school,
That's
so
right.
things were a little different. I grew up feral.
Amber 62654 asks, is it okay to pull $2,000 from the emergency fund to max out my Roth IRA for 2025?
Yes, because one of the little known secrets about Roths is you can get to your basis penalty-free, tax-free if you have to, assuming that you have more in your emergency fund than just $2,000.
But don't turn it into a crutch behavior. This needs to be a one-off thing. And that when you're running it so close in the beginning of behaviors and setting up good habits, that I want you to maximize this by April. But then make sure in the next year your emergency fund is big enough that these things don't cross paths as easily.
Love it.
All right, for these last 5, we're going to shorten the time to 20 seconds.
Wow, look at y'all. We're doing too good with 1 minute
Doing
that
too
y'all
good.
had to
I just
speed
want to
it
see
up.
what will happen. So
It's
you have 20 seconds. You can't say it depends, and then I will give you a follow-up at the end.
We're not gonna
You
need
have
it.
to say what
I
you
don't
need to
think we're
say.
gonna need it either.
Maxim B. Ken Camp 3342, that was a serious username, says, why do you say that Roth 401k depends on your marginal tax rate, but still encourage backdoor and mega backdoor Roths?
Backdoor and mega backdoor come at different times. We encourage mega backdoor because whenever you can do Roth tax-free, you should do it. Doing Roth 401k is not tax-free.
Well, because look, if you're in a high tax bracket, God, I'm seeing. I just self-regulate myself. I need more time on that
It
one.
costs you money to put money in the Roth salary deferral if you have options to do pre-tax. Every dollar you put in saves you 30 cents in taxes. Backdoor Roth is not. You can do pre-tax contributions and still do backdoor Roth.
Steve Harvey is making fun of me right now because I couldn't get that one right.
See, I did stress you out there. Sorry, Brian. Next is from Anshay11. What's Brian's favorite movie?
I mean, the classic answer is like a Shawshank Redemption is like one, but then there's also like we were talking yesterday. It came up in a Princess Bride.
Dude,
Is a good
dynamite.
one. I mean, so it depends on what your flavor of what you consider awesome. Thank You for Smoking. I mean, that was a good one. Do you remember that one from a few years ago? I could give you a list
don't
of
know that
5.
one.
I know Bo's gonna say probably Dark Knight.
I'd like to say
Christopher Nolan.
I'd like to say Star Wars is Brian's favorite movie.
Well, I mean, that's
Well, which one, Bo? Come on.
what's yours?
The Star Wars, the first
Yours
one,
is
right?
not Star Wars.
No, no.
Christopher Nolan, Dark Knight for you. I
The
bet.
Dark Knight trilogy was fantastic. It was a good one.
Manny G asks how to determine when enough money is enough money.
I mean, it's a personal. I will tell you, this is look at you. This you have
He
to know.
wants to say it so bad. He wants to say the words. He wants to say
When you know
words.
when you know who you are, what you value, and what brings you purpose, and
You're
your
so
money
smart.
allows
Your
you to
brain
be that
works
person.
so good. That's the abundance definition right there on the levels of wealth. You're so smart.
All right, 2 more. What's y'all's general quote unquote rule for sudden extra money, like an inheritance, bonus, or a raise? Spend versus saving versus investing.
Spend a portion of it if you have something that you felt like you've been deferring in life. We love you saving. Pay attention to how much you need to save. We have resources for you, and then know if I was going to say the Goldilocks rule, but I'm going to. I'm not good at this.
Give, save, spend, and I think you should do all 3 of them when you have inflows of money. Where you are on your journey depends on how much you put in each.
Last but not least, Febreze Me Up asks, who's your favorite Star Wars character?
Oh, that's Boba Fett. I mean, I hate what they did with the show because if you went to my office and saw how I still have my original characters from the 1970s, the actual action figures, and I used to sleep with that little figurine. I mean, I remember I lost him out in the backyard for like 2 weeks, and it was like I was devastated. And then when I found it, it was like a reunited. It was an incredible thing. So that's an easy one. I hate what Disney. I love Disney, but y'all know I hate what they did to that character through the series.
Luke Skywalker.
Great pick.
I'm not good at this.
That was so fun.
That's so
was
mean.
so fun for
and then
me.
you realize that I felt like we were all over back on the church softball field, and Bo is playing pitcher. He's playing shortstop. He's calling which side of the field he's going to hit the ball, and then they throw me out in right field. And then when the tournament comes, they say, Brian, we brought some ringers in. We're not even going to let you play anymore. So I felt
Brian,
like I was just a fish out of water.
My favorite part about the live
exercise.
streams is you being you and telling us all your stories and taking all the time. So that was just
It's
purely
because
for
you
fun.
know too much. It really is because you know too much. Like you hear
Know
a
too much.
question, and
You have too much
can't-
experience.
You can't unwind the thing.
I think we literally, if the content team, if my editors had chance to put it, you could see where my brain broke on some of those questions. You could actually see where the blue screen came up,
mid 20
and I was
seconds,
just
I
done.
did feel bad. I was like, oh no, I've broken him.
No, the blue screen came up. You're like, oh heck, we're gonna have to Control Alt Delete this thing.
Okay, Financial Mutants watching and listening, let us know what you thought. I'm thinking 20 seconds might have been too short, but 1 minute felt
I
a
do
little
think
long.
30. I think we could do 20 seconds. Felt
Maybe too
pressure,
short.
but I
Yeah.
think I could do 30 seconds in the future.
Yeah, so
We're
you guys
fine-tuning.
let us know
We're
if you
getting there.
like doing this kind of thing to change
We
it
could
up
do
to keep it
both.
fresh.
This might be like, we've all had, since I've already self-proclaimed that maybe in my younger years I drank too much.
so
I
fun.
used to have friends that I would drink one beer to their 3 beers. So there was people even moving at faster speeds than me back in those days. So Bo could be the same way. We could restrict Bo to 10 seconds or 20 seconds and
Okay.
me 40 seconds because know thyself and know
you
what
follow 'em
we're
up.
good at.
It's like handicapping, right?
Yeah,
There you
exactly.
go.
Like a golf stroke. That's a healthier thing than drinking. Golf handicap.
Oh no, that was fun. Okay, so now do we need to have our maybe it does depend segment? Is there anything else you need to say to wrap that up that you feel like
Well,
either responses to the game or responses to the question?
No, this is one I do want Brian to speak on because I get this all the time. It's amazing. I'll have a conversation with a potential client, someone who's reaching out, thinking about working with us, and I'll tell them, "Hey, what's going on? What are your issues?" And I'm like, "Hey, tell me your story. Tell me about all the stuff you got going on." And I'll be amazed. They'll be like, "Hey, I make a super big income, and I got my 401k, and I got my after-tax account, and that's pretty much it." Or maybe I have like an old rollover or something. I'm like, "Oh, you're not doing backdoor Roth IRAs?" Or, "Oh no, I don't." And I'm like, why? Why not? And I think it's because people fall into that trap of, well, do I really need to? Because that was the question. Why wouldn't I just do, if I'm going to do Roth, why wouldn't I just do Roth 401k? I think it does matter. Explain why doing a backdoor Roth versus opting to do a Roth salary deferral are not the same thing.
That
You'll
was a
see. And it's also,
complicated
one of the things I was also, because I love mega backdoor Roth, but I don't do mega backdoor Roth because it doesn't fit for my situation. And what I mean by that is that if you're in a really high income tax bracket, high marginal rate, say, because the federal rate is 37%, but then it's truly more than that because you also lose some other things in the background. So it's just like when I do my taxes, it doesn't say I'm paying 37%. The effective rate is actually closer to 40%. And then because of all the surcharges and those type of things. And then if you live in a state that has an income tax, we can get over 50% real quick.
fast.
And so you understand very quickly that, man, taking a deduction right now is valuable. If I can save 50 cents on the dollar, essentially the government is funding half of your contribution. And then the thought that is down the road when you retire, especially if you retire before 75 years of age, you might have an opportunity where your income goes way lower, much lower tax bracket. Now we can control the taxation and do a Roth conversion at that point. That's why you're going to want to do traditional 401k contributions, but you still would probably want to do backdoor. If you could structure your accounts in the ideal way, you'd then want to consider doing backdoor Roth contributions, meaning doing traditional IRA contributions, and then convert them if you have the right account structures. There's a lot that we're leaving unsaid there. And then the reason I don't do, like for myself, a mega backdoor Roth convert, because we could easily add after tax, is it's back to the same thing. I'm in such a high tax bracket, and I have the ability to structure the way a lot of self-employed people can do cash balance plans and other things to where let's get that money out of the 40% tax bracket. But if you're an executive at because we've seen it at a lot of the car manufacturers that we've done 401k consulting for, they have really good 401ks. They're in good tax situations to where a mega backdoor Roth makes a lot of sense for them because of the way their compensation, it's not so high and they don't have any ability to control cash balance and all these other things. But yeah, they ought to get in there and get those huge Roth conversion opportunities.
Love that.
Good stuff. Good follow-up. Glad we included
No,
the
I'm a
follow-up
good financial
to the
planner.
segment.
My brain works at a different
you're-
speed. I mean,
You're
it's just
amazing.
I can't.
Yeah. You're good. You're good.
I don't know. It ties into my slow storytelling draw. You know, you can't make this stuff. You can't bake a cake in 5 minutes. You just can't do it. No matter how much you want that chocolate cake, it's going to take a while for it to heat up in the oven and rise and do all the things it does.
True words.
Love it.
Someone in the chat was like, "You need to
I should have
give
said
Brian time
country
to
wise.
think,"
I
they
should have
said.
said biscuits.
Biscuits. There you go.
Biscuits. Very on brand. All right. Want to do another just normal Ask Money Guy question?
It's going to be hard to talk for more than 20 seconds.
But can we talk about the caper that I pulled off last week?
Caper. Oh,
Okay.
Sure. Why not?
Y'all know
Let's go.
Nashville was a hot mess.
Cold. No, it was freezing.
It was a
here.
freezing
It was
mess.
literally
Today,
It was literally 0 degrees.
I took my
Hot
daughter to
mess
school
could
today.
not be a worse.
The public
adjective.
school system was still closed yesterday, so I went up the main road to take my daughter to school, and I had no trouble. Today, the public school system's back in, so I tried to go my back roads to avoid all the traffic of the school traffic. And halfway to work, roads are still closed. There are trees literally everywhere. If you live in now, Bo somehow he lives in a part of the county that all their utilities are buried under the ground, and they had no trouble whatsoever. But in my neck of the woods, I mean, it was catastrophic. I mean, my neighborhood was without power for 3 days. And the caper I pulled off is that I saw the storm. And this is, by the way, this is part of my heritage. I've done this before. Because I remember when we lived in Atlanta. Was that 2014?
I can't remember, but it was.
You know, it's the one when Saturday Night Live was making fun of us because it said we just go to the safest place and go on Interstate 75 because the whole city just was a hot mess in Atlanta for that. It's because you just in the South we're just not wired for ice and snow and all the other stuff. I know everybody. I was about to make fun of my Yankee friends, but I won't say what they tell me. But back then in Atlanta, my wife woke me up at 5 a.m. and said, I got a crazy idea. This snowstorm is going to probably take out school for the week. Why don't we load up the kids and the pets and let's go down to Florida, go to Orlando. We had such a great time doing it back in 2014, 2015, that this year when that storm proposal came through, I said, why don't we fly down to Florida and do it again? Because we've already got a history that we totally felt like we were getting away with something when we were down in Florida while everybody was struggling. Even called my college daughter and said, hey, you can't come home and wash laundry this weekend because we're shutting off the water to the house. And she says, well, can I go? And we're like, yeah, come on.
Yeah,
we'll redo.
on.
And I think it's because she had such warm memories of us doing this in 2014 and 20, because we really did feel like we were getting away. And once again, we got down to Florida. And I'm not saying this to rub it, because, I mean, our neighbors were making fun of us. All of our neighbors in Tennessee were like, you guys are nuts. But on day 2 or 3, when the power was still struggling, and they're like, can we come? And we had some neighbors come stay with us down in Florida too. But I felt like we got away with something. And the memory making with family members, my kids will never forget what we got to do last week.
Well, we're happy that worworked well. We missed you here, though.
Well, and I felt bad for Andy because I was planning. I couldn't. Kudos. Andy's a trooper because all through, I told Reby because everything went bad here in Nashville pretty quick. And I called Reby because I don't trust Bo's opinion because I knew he was going to tell me he was going to be here no matter. Because he's got a monster truck. You know, Bo's got this macho truck that can go anywhere. And I think he gets excited when the weather turns a certain way because he feels like you don't have to lock the hubs anymore. But he likes getting out there and getting with it. He even told me he got brand new tires that he's really excited to see what these things could do. So I trusted Reby and I called her and I was like, look, this is the situation. I was like, surely Andy's not coming in town still because, you know, we've had all kind of crazy. She's like, no, Andy's getting on a plane. And I was like, God bless him. But I was like, I don't think that with school being out for the rest of the week and us still not even having power at the house, you know, I'm not coming back with no power. Because I love Andy, but I like electricity more. Seriously. I mean, because you can't do anything without electricity.
I like Andy,
was
but
the
I love
funniest.
electricity.
No, it
just
was a
didn't
hot
expect you to
mess
say
in
it
my
like that.
neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I didn't hear you guys offering to let me and my crew come stay at y'all's house.
You're
during that
welcome
part.
at the Hanson household
Yeah.
anytime.
I didn't
brother.
think you wanted to. You were in
Anytime.
Florida.
No, I was in a good place down there with the mouse.
I still owe you one, honestly. I owe you a few months rent-free stay at the
No,
Hanson
I didn't
house.
want to. Truthfully, Bo had his own. You had your own issues.
Oh, yeah,
Pools
pool,
leaking
yeah.
and all kind of
Yeah.
other stuff.
It was rough. It was really water and cold temperatures is not great.
Fun times.
Okay, I didn't mean to take, but it's just that it feels crazy. A moment in time, so much crazy stuff happened last week in Nashville. Not to share it with the audience because we hadn't even talked about all that stuff with you guys either.
You're right. Well, there you go. Now you know where Brian was last week.
Did we not put any pictures on social media? I guess not.
I guess
No,
no,
we
we
did.
did. We actually
We
put
did.
in our
Oh,
email
yeah.
list
Look at
already. Knew
that.
that.
That's
Like,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
it was
yeah,
on
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, we did.
My wife actually said, "Don't post those pictures."
Why?
She's like, "That's gonna seem mean with everybody struggling through stuff." And look, my neighbors were struggling, but it's one of those things. Our little bit of happiness was not meant to be negative. It was just our caper.
You're just on a caper.
It's all good.
And by the way, we'll
glad you
probably
were
do it
happy.
again next year. No, next ice storm comes through in 15 years, we'll be probably on a plane headed to Florida.
Noted. We'll plan ahead. All right. Do you want to do one more question? Or maybe a couple. We'll see.
Yeah.
We've got one from
Is Andy from Detroit? Where do we decide Andy was from? He's from Michigan, Detroit.
Michigan. Yeah. You know, I'm forgetting the
So
exact
they're
city.
wired differently. He's just
But
like,
yeah,
oh, it's an
Michigan.
ice storm.
Yeah, no big deal. It's a big deal down here.
Okay.
I mess up your
I'm
chain
going
of
to
thought.
butcher this username, but we're going to go for it. Edu Brissinor asks, "Hi, you all. Thanks for what you do. I'm 28, married with one kid. Our mortgage is a 30-year at 6.625%. Does it count as high interest debt, or is it further down the foo? No debt except the mortgage. Thank you."
Edub, this is a pretty easy question in my mind because oftentimes with mortgages, I think the mortgages are going to count as low interest debt. I think they're going to fall into step 9. I don't think they're going to be step 3 high interest. And even 6.625% isn't even high relative to some new homeowners over the last 2 or 3 years. A lot of folks still have mortgage rates at like 7.5%. For a 28-year-old at that rate, I do not consider that to be high interest.
No, I agree. Mortgages are kind of a unique thing in the fact because you have the option to refinance. And you even have the option. Now, we're not quite there yet with 6.6, but once we get below 1%, you can start refinancing with no cost, meaning that the lender, you take a little bit of a premium on the rate. And once you get in a falling interest rate environment, which some indicators are that we might be headed that way, you don't refinance once. You might be able to refinance 2 or 3 times.
Sure.
So that way, if you feel like you missed it, you can do it again as long as the rates are still going down. With this exception, though, I need everybody to understand it's a math thing. Is that just because you refinance to take advantage of a lower interest rate, do not reset the term of your loan, meaning that you don't go from a 30-year mortgage that you've been paying for 4 years, refinance into another 30-year, and then pay the terms like it's 30 years. No, you need to pay this at least like it's a 26-year
right.
mortgage or 25 or even a 20 or whatever fits into your financial situation. The resetting of the amortization is the biggest mistake people make. And sometimes it even makes sense to pay the closing costs. You have to do the math. We probably have some resources on the website to where you can figure out the break-even analysis of whether you should take a premium on the rate or if you should just pay the closing costs on the refinance. I think that over the coming year to 18 months, this is going to be a hot issue that we're going to keep you front and center on is when should you take advantage of refinancing your mortgage?
Yeah, we do have a deliverable, a tool out there for you. If you go to moneyguy.com/resource, or if you just go to moneyguy.com and you can search in our search bar, refinance, you'll find a lot of our content that we've released on that because you want to make sure you make that decision well. We should do a calculator for refinancing.
You think so?
That's
I think
another
so.
one, yeah. I think that would be a powerful calculator. Reeby's like, you guys love coming up with the ideas. I'm actually the rubber meeting the road
That's what I'm
moment.
here for. That's what I'm here for. All right, let's go to another question from Asorn. It says, I'm starting a job at a large private tech company. A good percentage of my pay is in these private RSUs with yearly tenders. How should I hedge against this income risk that comes?
Save like a banshee outside of the private shares, right? So when you think about your comp package, right, I imagine you get some sort of salary, right? So I'm just going to use round numbers because it's easy for me to think. Let's say you get a $100,000 salary. But let's say that another big chunk of your comp comes in these private shares. Let's say it's another $100,000. You have $100,000. So on paper, on your tax return, you look like a $200,000 a year income earner, or most likely it's going to vest over a couple years, and so it's not going to be the full, but you get the idea. Realistically, when it comes to budgeting and it comes to saving, it comes to you thinking about how you structure your financial life, I don't want you to behave and act like someone who makes $200,000 a year. I want you to behave and act like someone who makes $100,000 a year, assuming those private shares are not liquid and there's nothing you can do with them. Even though you might be saving them and they might be going towards your future, with private companies, we never know exactly how that story is going to end. So what I want you to be careful of is having all of your wealth tied up and all of your wealth built up in this private enterprise where also your human capital is. Because if things go bad, you could lose your job, you could lose the value of your portfolio and be in a really, really rough spot. So what I want to see you doing is following the financial order of operations, building your assets and your accounts outside of the private shares. And then if you hit a liquidation event or if the company goes IPO, well, that's all going to be gravy, and that's then going to become part of your financial life that's actually tangible that you can use.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest takeaway, because I'm thinking of all of our clients that we've dealt with, RSUs are grants. So you made the decision to probably take less pay so that you could, because you were building in that these RSUs were going to hopefully have some value for you. But we've had clients that had stock option choices too, where they could defer up to a very high percentage, and some of these really paid off. The big takeaway I always share with people is don't have all of your human capital tied into the exact same place where you're trying to build investment capital, but concentration can create huge wealth over time. So it's a balancing act. And that's why I would at least make sure that you had 15%. I'd prefer 25, but you might have taken a lower pay structure because of the RSUs. But that's why I have to give you a bottom threshold there, a minimum of at least 15% that you're saving and investing outside of the company. And then if they, but then try to get that to as 25% as fast as possible, because I love you have the win-win or the best of both worlds is where their company hits, you turn into a huge windfall wealth opportunity with the RSUs, but then also you're protected over here with your other savings that you get both. Now, if it goes bad and sideways, at least if you're doing the 15 to 25% outside of your employer when it goes bad, if it went bad, you wouldn't be just left holding the bag and feel like you lost everything.
That's right.
That's great.
It's a balancing act. It really is. And we've helped clients with those type of situations because we try to take into account the math of the moment, because some of these employers really give you incredible opportunities with how you structure these things. So we try to maximize that, but also not just put ourselves out there completely naked.
Soren, thanks for the question. We're glad that you're here asking it and helping you think through your personal financial situation, because personal finance is personal, and that's why we love answering your questions live every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central. And we will be back next Tuesday. But until then, be sure to go to moneyguy.com/resources. Take advantage of all of our free stuff, our calculators, our downloads, plus our articles, episode archives, and ultimate guides that will deep dive on a lot of the topics that we touched on today. So be sure to check out moneyguy.com. We tried to make it really searchable and useful just for you so you can continue these conversations in your own life.
Guys, glad to be back in the saddle here. We have a blast doing this live content. Thank you for being a part of it. We don't take it for granted. We just had a big planning session, off-site planning session yesterday. Can't wait to share some of the great stuff. You have no idea how excited I am to share some of the things that we've come up with for 2026. You guys make it all possible. I'm your host, Brian, joined by Mr. Bo, joined by Reby and the rest of the content crew that you can't even see that's sitting all around here. And we have a blast making this type of content. Money Guy, out.